Okay, we are live. Happy Thursday, beautiful people. This is Latrice Burks-Palmerio, aka Black Girl Magic Lawyer. If you are new to this channel, welcome. This is a channel for Black women and our awesome allies, people who are toxic job survivors, people who want to learn more about their legal rights. I'm Latrice Burks-Palmerio. I'm a California barred attorney, activist, author, and producer. And with me today, we have an awesome radical Black woman who shook the ground when she wrote this book that she'll talk about, and we're going to have a fruitful discussion. So, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself, friend.
Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Yanique Redwood, and I am the author of two books. The first one is White Women Cry and Call Me Angry, a Black woman's memoir on racism in philanthropy, which is the sector I used to work in. And my new book with my partner is We Quit America, Our Exit from a Country Designed to Kill Black People.
I mean, look, like those titles alone are like,
Yeah, I'm just going to say it.
let's go ahead and just tell the truth, and we can shake the devil later, okay?
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to give a shout out to Stephanie Perry because I know you interviewed her. You interviewed with her a few months ago. I saw that interview and it really inspired me. So I'm very grateful that you joined us today.
Thank
Um,
you.
so let's start with the first book. So please tell us about your groundbreaking book, White Women Cry. What was the purpose of those 18 essays,
Yeah,
and how did you come about that?
yeah. So it was about 2018 when I was really like crashing emotionally. I was crashing physically, like my body was breaking down. And part of it was that I needed to write to get well again, right? So I started, just taking classes. I was writing, just experimenting with the writing process. And after a couple of essays in this writing class, I was like, oh, wait a second. I think I may have something forming here, right, into a book. The other thing that was happening was that I was leading a racial justice oriented foundation, and people kept asking us, like, how did you get your board of directors to even agree to this strategy? How did you do it? And so people were asking me to write about that, but I didn't want to write just any old report. You know what I'm saying? I really wanted to write something that tells the truth about what it is like as a Black woman to lead in that sector, in a sector of mostly white folks giving away money, right? Thinking that they're doing good.
Right.
Um, and I wanted to write it raw. And that's what I did. I wrote this book so that Black women could see their stories, feel their stories. At one point, I kept thinking, oh, well, what will white people think about this book? And I was like, okay, I got to stop thinking about what white people will think about something, right? And so I just took that away. It's just like, I'm going to write this exactly for Black women so
Awesome.
that Black women can hear it and feel it. And that is exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened.
Yeah, and it's so funny that you say that, and I think part of it is like the part of our fear is just like, are we, we don't we've been conditioned
Mhm.
on silence,
That's
and we've
right.
been conditioned not to speak up, and it's like by not speaking up, we like waive
Mhm.
we waive our own authenticity.
That's right.
And
That's
I'm
right.
so I'm proud of you for taking that self, and I'm proud of you for like for giving yourself permission. Part of it is whenever we want to do a major project that has a potential to help a lot of
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
we're afraid and we don't
Yeah.
give ourselves permission. But I'm so proud of you for doing that.
Thank
When,
you.
when did you come up with that like digestible format of essays? Because
Ooh.
essays are like easier to like go through.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think because I started in that writing class, it was an essay writing class, right? And so the very first essay that I wrote in that class was, it's the first essay in the book. It's called The Search. And it was about my childhood, parental abuse, like all the things that I think helped shape who I am and what I became interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second essay I wrote in that class was about when I learned. So I'm not from the United States, I'm from Jamaica. So I didn't know about the syphilis study at Tuskegee until college.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And so I was in college, I think this was my junior year, and I was in like this, like what I thought was just an elective, whatever class. And it was the sociology of medicine, and it blew me away. Like I had to get out that classroom. I was so broken by learning about it. And so I wrote about that experience in the class,
Mm-hmm.
and they weren't connected necessarily. Like they didn't feel connected. I didn't have to like thread them. And then I was like, well, maybe I could just keep writing essays, even though they may be different parts of my story.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe eventually there'll be a through line. And so I just kept going with essays, the short form that you don't have to read the whole book to get what is in one essay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was the reason for that format. Like that's how I started practicing writing, and I just kept going with it. I really loved the format.
No, that's great. And that's great. And I wanted to actually talk about like medical racism because I think, like it's a pillar that we deal with in the States. And there's this, it's rooted in this lack of value for Black life. Right. And I remember when I was in college, I read Thomas Jefferson's notes on the state of Virginia, and where he justified that, Black slaves don't need sleep.
Yep.
We don't grieve.
Yep.
Where he made gross characteristics about our bodies. So I'm thinking like, and that essay that he wrote, right, informed medicine in the United States.
Yeah. Today.
Yeah.
There are, I don't know if you've seen that study. I mean, people, I know lots of people know about it now, but that our skin is somehow thicker, and therefore we don't feel pain. And therefore doctors are less likely to prescribe pain medicine for Black people. Ridiculous. It's like, it's so ridiculous and almost comical. If it wasn't so damaging, it would be like, this is ridiculous. But it actually manifests in our healthcare systems, our public health systems. But it's just so ridiculous. The ideas of hierarchy, they're so ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, think about what their purpose was. Like they needed to justify in their minds treating these human beings not like human beings.
That's
so
right.
Of course, and to hold on to that notion,
That's
you
right.
need to make up all these other lies about these people. And then it also kind of, ties into the workplace. Like as an attorney for Black women, I see that we are underpaid. We are overworked. We get asked to train people without compensation.
That's right.
And it's we're America's favorite to exploit, is what I tell my clients all the time. And I think it goes back to these like old founded notions that really date back to slavery.
That's right. I mean, the way that I talk about it now too is like America's workhorses. Like Black women put in work, no matter what sector, no matter what field, overperforming, overworking. And that's who we've been. And so since the election, we've seen like on social media, Black women saying, I'm going to sit down now because I'm done. And I know we say that. And I wonder if we'll be able to really like continue down that path, because we're so used to being the workhorses. We're so used to trying to save people, communities, the country, and so I just pray that Black women can take some time to really sit down, really sit down.
Because I think America now at this point has made it abundantly clear that she rejects Black women leadership.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, and if that message is being reiterated, It
Mm-hmm.
really is up to us to listen. I saw online that this year in March, Harriet Tubman's birthday will be National Black Women's Rest Day. And I,
Really? I haven't
and I
seen
love that.
that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I haven't heard that. I'll look that up.
because we are so worthy of rest, and it's just you know. So the response to your book, White Women Cry, has had a phenomenal response by the public. I know you
Mhm.
sold over
Yes.
3,000 copies so far.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. On my own, right? Like I
Oh,
don't have any publishers. I don't have any fancy anything. This is me on my little website. I don't sell on it on I won't even say the name of that place. I don't sell there. I sell on my own website. And
wow.
just I think what happened was the decision to write directly to Black women. No
Hmm.
fluff, no making it nice so that white people can understand that this was not a book for them.
Hmm.
And so I believe that Black women saw it and said, "Oh," and they were sending me messages. People were sending me messages on LinkedIn, all the social media, emailing me like, literally, you have written my life.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you, if you read my journals, you would see that the same things that you write about happened to me. And so I think that
Mhm.
decision that I made to finally stop worrying about what white people would think
Yeah.
helped to get right to the audience that I wanted it to get to. And they responded.
That's
You know what I'm
awesome.
saying? They responded. And so last year and the year before was just beautiful because I ended up being in spaces with Black women all across the country, book talks, small book talks, big book talks. I mean, just such a beautiful response. Every talk, there was a woman. I'm at the table, I'm signing books, and I love that moment of signing somebody's book.
Yeah.
And somebody is telling me a story right there at the
Hmm.
book signing table, and she's crying because
Wow.
she has had an experience like the ones I talk about in the book. And I'll forever just be grateful to Black women, not only for saying, please write this book, right? I had
Mhm.
a group of women who were saying, you need to write it, encouraging me to get past the fear. And then the Black women who have responded. It's been phenomenal.
That's awesome because it sounds like by healing yourself, you heal others while you're
Yes.
healing yourself, and I think
Yes.
that's really phenomenal. And I know you're working on like a documentary based on the book. Tell me a
Yes.
bit about that.
Yes. Oh, where can I start? So the filmmaker, I'll start with the filmmakers,
Sure.
Minyote Kabata and Bethel Dixon. They are just so awesome. They're Black women. They are gentle. They have a vision for the documentary that is different than any documentary that I've ever seen. I was expecting a very like, I don't know if the Talking Heads documentary where you've got like, experts who have something to say and it's like, all these numbers and stats, and we'll have some of that.
Sure.
But the filmmaker said, when she read the book, she said, I want to make this soft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black women, we don't get soft. We
Right.
don't get portrayals as soft. We don't get to experience soft. So I want this to have a very soft quality. And so, from what I've seen so far, we're in the middle of production. It is just beautiful. The cinematography is gorgeous. Last in December, we showed a little clip of it at an art exhibit for the film, and one woman at the end said, "If I wanted to see films like this about Black women, where would I go to see them?
Wow.
They don't exist." She said, this needs to be its own genre.
Yeah.
And so the vision for the film is very powerful. It's very soft. It's got three main themes that it's following. The first is that Black women are experiencing weathering of
Hmm.
our bodies, our physical bodies, because of racism related stress. We have to deal with the mental health repercussions of that stress. I mean, I did a kind of a really short kind of on LinkedIn, I think, a couple of years ago. Was it last year? Last year. And said, hey, like, you know, what are you experiencing as a Black woman who has been fired or forced to resign? And the mental health responses were shocking. Even though I had been through it, to
Yeah.
hear Black women talk about things like self-harm as
Mhm.
part of the thinking because they were so broken by what happened to them at work. So there's the mental health repercussions. And then, like in the book, the film will really follow the theme of pleasure, rest, play as pathways for our healing, right? So it's not just about the harm, but
Yeah.
it's about like there are possibilities for us.
Mhm.
We don't even in the midst of all the chaos right now, we can stay grounded. We can find ways to heal ourselves, heal our communities, heal with other Black women.
Yeah.
Um, there are possibilities for us, and that's one of the main messages of the film. We there are pathways for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's survival after
Yeah,
trauma.
that's right. That's
That's
exactly
just so
right.
beautiful.
That's
So
exactly
beautiful.
right.
And it's like I've been through the Black woman employee life cycle twice, you know, and yeah,
Mm.
it is. It takes it's hard to turn your back on your on notions of what you thought your career would look like for no real fault of your own, really, you know. So
Mhm.
that's I totally so best of luck with that. I'm a
Thank
producer, like
you.
I mentioned. My husband's a veteran documentary editor, so
Oh, so
this
good.
is a family that supports that type of art. So we really
Mhm.
wish you the best.
Oh, one more thing, Latrice. I
Sure.
mean, I know you're working on a project too. This is the time to continue to keep telling stories, right?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to take away our stories, they're trying to bury our histories,
Yes.
bury our stories. And so this is the time for storytelling, for archival work, for making film, for writing books. Like we can't let up now. This is like when we have to like really lean in to preserving our stories and telling our stories.
And thank you for saying that. And I know like there's there are scholars who say during times of like political turmoil is when
Mhm.
the art is
Yes,
when art amplifies.
that's right.
I
That's
agree with
right.
you.
That's
So
right.
I'll tell you another idea that I had. I wanted to do like a short for um a black woman who leaves the workforce. And it's I want to focus on
Mm.
this notion of black women being workhorses,
Yeah.
right? And then
Mhm.
and when we finally like say that we've had enough. So I mean, what was your turning point? You like talked
Mm.
about like weathering, right? I
Yes.
mean, I've seen that. I have clients that have gotten sick because of
Yep.
work, and
Yep.
some people even die. Like they're like
Yep.
they like die from
Oh yeah.
work related stress.
Oh
When
yeah.
was your breaking point?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I just want to say you are so on point with the dying and the like the wearing down of the body. I know a woman who did get a payout after a really terrible workplace experience. And she said, yes, I've gotten this payout, but I'm so sick. My body is so
Yeah.
broken down. I
Wow.
can't even use it right now. I still need to heal. So I just want to say this is a very real phenomenon. My breaking point was definitely in 2018. I had been going to the doctor because I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. My joints were on like inflamed. Like I was so tender. I was just my body was so tender. I felt like every time I tried to like walk, it felt like I was just like dragging through mud. I
Wow.
just was so tired. I was so fatigued. And so I asked my board if I could take, I think it was a week off. And I went to the doctor. They ran a bunch of tests and they said that one of the tests came back positive for Lyme disease.
Wow.
And I was like, Lyme disease, don't you got to go outside to be around like some like animals? Like I'm not an outdoors person. So that didn't make sense to me. So I took the medicine, but I went to a specialist. I went to
Yeah.
a specialist to like check the diagnosis to get a second opinion. And he did all the interviews and he looked at me. He says, you don't have Lyme disease.
Yeah.
Go back to your primary care physician and start again. And so I don't think I had Lyme disease. And I was in a particularly like tough period, especially with one of my board members. Um, and it was just back and forth. There was just so much. It's all in the book. I wrote it all in the book. And I think that was what was causing the stress, and my body was inflamed. My body was literally like inflamed. And so that inflammation in the body is what contributes to things like diabetes. It's what
Yeah.
contributes to heart disease. It's what contributes to all of the like major diseases. And Arlene Geronimus, who is the person who coined the term weathering, talks
Mhm.
about how racism related stress, all that building up, right? We are built to deal with stress, but it's supposed to stop at some point so that our
Exactly.
bodies can recover. It's not supposed to just be
Yep.
ongoing every day, all day.
Right.
And because of that, our bodies weather. And for me, that came around 2017, 2018. And then the depression, right?
Mm.
And the anxiety. And I was just like, okay. And my husband and I were just talking about something has to change.
Yeah.
Something has to change, or else I'm not going to make it. And many Black women do not make it.
Yeah.
I have a colleague who recently passed a few months ago at work.
Oh, I'm
At
so sorry.
work.
Oh, oh.
You know, a lot of us are grieving that loss, and so this is not theoretical. This
Right.
is real.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the messages I want Black women to hear, that it you may think, oh, if I've got a middle class job, then I'm protected, right? I'm protected. I live in a middle class neighborhood, so I'm protected. I have access to a grocery store, so I'm good. But it's not good inside. The other thing I hear is, well, Black don't crack. How come Black women look so good? And that may be the case, but
Yes.
inside, we are aging faster than we should,
Hmm.
and we are dying earlier than we should. And that is so much related to the amount of racism related stress that we experience.
And it's, and a Black woman has to decide, like,
Mm.
and learn. Not everyone learns this lesson, but life really, a human life truly is priceless.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
know the way that America is set up, America has put, dollar figures on
yeah,
our heads,
yeah.
but that fake number will just send you to the grave early. Like
Yep,
my like
yep.
honestly, my mother died at 53, and part of it was work related stress.
Oh, wow. I'm so
And
sorry.
I
That's so
saw
young.
how being a Black woman in Cleveland public schools put a number, did a number on her. And
Wow,
I think
wow.
and I think for me, I made a pledge at a younger age not to die. I want to live
Mm,
as much life as possible,
right,
and
right.
that's
Don't we?
a deliberate choice.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So so
It's
that
real.
yeah. So I wanted to,
Mm,
talk. So I sent you the Black woman employee life cycle. Talk about that a lot with my clients. Normally, when someone reaches out to me and we decide to work together, I send them the video. I spoke to one of the like co-creators of that chart
mm,
that outlines the vicious cycle that Black
mm,
women are put in when we enter these jobs. We
mhm,
are like tokenized in the recruiting stage. We work very hard trying to leave like a really good impression. That
mhm,
leads to burnout. The
mhm,
burnout leads to the exit, rinse, wash, repeat.
mhm. Oh,
It
yeah.
really is a cycle. So
Mhm,
tell me about, have you seen, I know I sent you the chart, and
Yeah.
others have seen that video I did with the co-creator. How have you seen that chart manifest in your field?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, this chart is so spot on. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, whoever did this, so spot on.
Yep.
So for me, it wasn't really inside of my institution, right? So I was leading a, a private foundation in Washington, D.C. And even though I had some challenges with one or two board members, in general, I was supported at work. However, in my sector, right? So I was a peer along with many other CEOs of foundations, of private foundations, and most of them were white women.
Mhm.
And so, I come to town as a brand new CEO of a foundation. I was very young, much younger than is typical for that role, early 30s. And getting to know people. And so lots of optimism, lots of excitement. And then I proceed to introduce my vision for the work
Mhm.
and not only for our institution, but trying to get other foundations to also focus on racial equity and racial justice,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the burnout phase, meeting with all the council members in the city, meeting with other CEOs, meeting after meeting, joining boards, joining committees, like trying to get the message out that we've got to address structural racism, or else we will not see the outcomes that we want to see for our communities.
Yep.
Um, and then I think because I was pushing so hard on these issues, people were like, oh, wait a second. We liked it when it was theoretical, but she's really asking us to go past theoretical and actually make some changes in the way we do grant making,
Yep.
changes in, who's on our board, changes in how we engage with communities. And that's when the pushback. So the uh, pushing back, tone policing, the gaslighting,
Oh.
ambition seen as a threat. And I was
Mhm.
just minding my business, just doing, and this is what we do, right? We do great work. Um, what else is in here? The isolation, racial
Mhm.
battle fatigue, all of that, all of that. And by 2018, I was completely burnt out. And that's when I started to write and articulate that what I had been experiencing was not, it was not me. There was nothing wrong with me. Like I kept thinking, oh, well, if I could just say it different. So I would read books. How do I talk to white people about
Yeah.
it? Well, maybe if I dress a particular way, maybe if I speak a particular way, maybe if I adjust my, like all this trying to like figure out how to
Yeah.
talk to white people about these subjects, and none of it was working because it wasn't me. It
Right.
wasn't about me. It's not about you. It's not
Right.
about any of us. It's about the fact that they are enjoying the benefits of the current situation
Yep.
now.
Yep.
I don't know if they feel that way now,
Mhm.
given what our political reality is, but because these were all liberal folks. But at the time, they were like, okay, we'll move at our pace, not
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
not this transformative pace you're trying to push.
Right.
And
Hmm.
and then yeah, it all crashed for me personally. And my board, which was a beautiful board in general, except for the one or two people, said, okay, you need to take a step back, because I was burning out, and gave me a mini sabbatical so that I could, get away from the office, get away from all the boards and all the committees, recover, and come back with a new vision for how we as an organization would do our best,
Yeah.
our utmost to reflect what we want in the world, even if the world wasn't changing. So it's like, what can we control? even if we can't get other institutions to change. And that's the third part of the book, which talks about the transformation of the institution that I was leading to be even more justice focused than it was.
And I just wanted to kind of like reiterate this, like part of racial battle fatigue is just like mental gymnastics.
Yep.
Black people spend a lot of time
Yep.
trying to figure out how to deal with white people in the workplace.
That's right. That's right.
In,
That's
in
right.
addition to doing all of our job functions.
Exactly. Exactly. So you
And
work in two jobs.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I want to shout out a few people. Love Parker Connection. That's Angela. Hi, Angela. The Luxury Bucket List. Hello, hello. If you're joining us live today, please hit that like button and spread the word. This is a fruitful conversation with a revolutionary Black woman. So we gotta show our love and support. So thank you all for joining. I wanted to. I know you and I both are Zora Neale Hurston fans, and like you and like me, she was a powerful Black woman who had the power of the pen. Writing. I love writing
Mm,
too. I
mm.
still publish my articles. I used to submit them to the Times, and
Yeah,
without much luck. So I'm like, let me just go ahead and
exactly.
my own. So,
Yep.
and I know there's a famous quote of hers that about silence that has really resonated with you in your work. She says, "If you're silent about your pain, they will kill you and say you enjoyed it."
That's right.
Now, what does that really mean to you?
Yeah, this was big for me because when I was CEO of this foundation in DC, doing my best work, right? Um, and and also looking good doing it. I really loved clothes, so I would put
Yeah,
on my clothes. I would be doing my work, and I thought to myself, when I'm done, when I leave this place, if I don't say anything, right, everyone will say, "Oh, Yanique enjoyed her time in DC doing this work. I mean, remember she was speaking here, she was doing this. Oh, remember when she was wearing that? Like, you know what I'm saying? It looks good. It looks good on the outside."
yeah,
And I was like, and I remember that quote, it was on one of my colleagues' byline. And I said, you know what? If I leave and don't say exactly what was happening while I was there, then it's like, oh, they did kill me or almost or tried to,
right,
and can say that I enjoyed it, and I wasn't gonna have that. I wasn't gonna go out like that. And
yeah,
so yes, I enjoyed many aspects of my job. I did good work. I had great colleagues. I had a great board. Um, and and most of the white women that I had to be in relationship with um, were terrorizing me
yeah.
and other Black women. I have found out since, because I've written this book, that some of the same people who I talk about had been terrorizing other Black women.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow. And listen, how convenient of white supremacy to deny the consequences of their actions, and
that's
and
right.
and to and to deny the harm
That's right.
attached to their like complacency,
That's right.
etc.
That's
So
right.
it's just
That's exactly right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I love that, and I think so. She was very special to me, and I know it's Black History Month, and we were talking before we went live. She was definitely before her time for
Yep.
all of her innovative, So, and again, I think silence is a tool of white
It
supremacy.
is. It absolutely is.
Yeah, silence
Um,
is death.
so many women have reached out to me to say thank you for saying it because I couldn't.
Wow.
Um, the other thing that I hear a lot is I signed an NDA and so I
Mm,
can't. But it's killing me that I can't speak up because I signed this NDA. So the NDA is a tool.
yeah.
It's a tool for silence,
Yep.
right? So that corporations, organizations can continue to abuse their workers
Mhm.
without consequence.
And
So
I know,
yeah,
so yeah, as an attorney, I'll say, look, there is an exception to even if you sign an NDA. you still might be able to speak out via the Speak Out Act, which is federal law. So
That's right.
if you're able to, if it's about oppression, or if you need to like whistleblow, they
Yeah. Yeah.
NDAs might, even if you break it, there's
Yep.
no real walking it back, and I think employers know that, so
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
should have more power than we think.
Than we think. That's right. That's right.
Yep, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your work as with racial justice strategy. So how did you come about that? Was that kind of
Yeah.
after you pivot away from philanthropy? It sounds like you were trying to implement some institutional changes when you were at
Yeah.
your job. But
Yeah.
what does
Yeah.
that look like for you now?
For me now. So I am, how can I say this? Can I say I'm semi-retired? Maybe. Um, I decided last year that I would no longer work full time. So that's a promise I made to myself, that I have probably worked enough for a couple of lifetimes
Yeah.
because of overwork. And this
Hmm.
is, I know this is common among Black women. I know that if you've had a career, you've probably had two or three careers, right? So I made some conscious efforts because I was unpacking some of the reasons why I overwork. Um, and I just said, I don't want to do that anymore. And the way for me to do that is to scale back on how many hours I work per week. And so for me, that meant I'm not in a full time job. I'm not
Yeah.
in a full time job. And so I support organizations, um, either foundations or nonprofits, who are trying to figure out um, how to achieve or how to implement the strategies inside of their organizations, the culture inside of their organizations that will allow them to do their best work in the world on behalf of communities that are struggling the most, in particular Black communities. And
Hmm.
so I am a consultant now. I have been able to maintain my commitment to working half time.
Hmm.
The only thing that has kind of tipped me over that is the work related to the book and the film. But
Yeah.
in some ways, that feels like different work. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean?
I totally
It's
understand.
yeah, it's creative work, so it like
Mhm.
it feeds,
It does.
you know.
Yep.
And so I allow for that, but in
Mhm.
my kind of like consulting hat where I'm trying to get organizations help them, they want to move this work, but
Yeah.
either culturally they have issues or strategically they don't quite understand like the depths of structural racism. So
Mhm.
how to move them and their teams so that they really can do their best work in the world on behalf of our communities.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I think, and I guess I want to follow up with that. Do you feel like there'll be a shift in intention because
Mm,
this national push against DEI?
mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think I just want to say on that part, like it is empirically proven that
Mhm.
diversity is profitable.
Oh
The,
yeah. Oh
the
yeah.
more people you have in the room with different
Yep.
ideas, the better you'll do. So I'm
Right.
wondering, like, do you foresee a kind of shift away from these organizations, or it sounds like some are still committed?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
list. What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
Yeah. This is interesting because I was just reading an article because I've bought in like most people, like, oh my God, Target pulled away its DEI and this organization pulled away its DEI work. And so it's like this idea that everyone's doing it, but it's not true,
Yeah,
right? So those are the ones that the news will cover.
sure.
But there are many organizations that have remained committed. I was on one company's website the other day because I just needed to get some shorts for an upcoming trip, and they have it on their homepage. We remain committed. We
Hmm.
know that this is good for our company, and so what I'm trying to do is find those companies, find those organizations, not only for my personal, spending if I need to buy something, but also for my work. Like I'm only going to work with organizations who remain committed.
Yep.
If you're tiptoeing around at this point, like
Yeah.
given what is happening, then no, I'm not your consultant. But if
Yeah.
you are willing to, in the face of these threats, keep moving this work forward,
Hmm.
then I can be supportive.
That's
and
that's
and
awesome.
it's really important to me to support especially Black women who are trying to move this work inside of their organizations, because I know what they're up against. I know
Yeah.
what they're up against.
No, that's great, and I do agree with you. I think I think after Orange Clown is out, there'll be history keeps tabs on people,
Hmm.
and I think Target's gonna have to
Oh
um,
yeah,
come to Jesus down the line.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to acknowledge a comment. So the luxury bucket list talked about backlash, or at least being like blacklisted when you do speak up, and
Hmm.
she mentioned that she can't afford it and like
Hmm.
retaliation. So what
Hmm.
do you have any
Yeah, yeah.
advice for her to
Yeah,
speak up?
I think there are people who will not be able to speak up. No, I
Yeah.
get that. Yeah, that is, but for us to be in community with those who can, those who have some freedom to be able to speak up. So, for example, I don't work a full-time job. So I can't, no one can fire me.
Right.
I made some decisions a few years ago in order to pay off my house so that
Hmm.
I don't have a mortgage, so that in the event of anything, no one can make me work because my house is paid for, right? So part of what I am recommending to folks, right? It's there's a lot we can do, right? So for those who can't speak out, be in relationship with those who can, right? Find
Mm-hmm.
the people who we can be in community with. Um, I also I strongly recommend, and this is in my second book, as much as we can, start to wean ourselves off of American consumerism, right?
Yes.
Stop that Amazon. Oh my God, I had such an Amazon addiction. Oh my goodness.
I think most people do.
Oh my goodness. And then you look around, it's like, where can I shop? They've taken the whole market,
Yeah.
but I'm no longer shopping there. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So like, what do I really need? Do I really need this thing that I need to buy here? Like that I
No.
say I need to buy here? And where else can I buy it if I need to? Um, how can I just make my life smaller? Do I
Yeah.
really need this really nice, beautiful condo in this part? Like, or can I live smaller? And so I think the more we can do that, the less somebody has over us, a
Yes.
job, silencing, things like that. And so I totally get it. Not everybody can speak up, but my main points are: be in relationship,
Hmm.
find your tribe, find your people, and also what can you do just slowly in your life to lessen your dependence
Yeah.
on a job,
Yeah.
on that income that's coming in every 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the comment, and thanks for the feedback. Angela Love Parker Connection mentioned that learning how to talk to white people is really about their like fragility. They're fragile, so we're
Yeah.
doing all this extra work. And I
Oh
know
yeah.
that there's a scholar who wrote a book about that. I think she's Italian, but she called out white Americans for being fragile, and the response was like,
Oh
"What?"
yes, yes, yes. I know who you're talking about. She
Yeah,
wrote Robin DiAngelo. She wrote White Fragility. I know Robin, and her book had really like helped to explain what I was experiencing.
right.
And so yes, that's another good one. That's another good one. It helped me to say, oh, wait a second, this is not about me.
Yeah.
There are no ways in which I can behave that's going to make this easier for white people.
Yeah.
It's just
And I mean, I think at one point you had this, you like let go of trying to
oh
like
yeah.
take him out the equation,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and, and Angela said that, being like pushed out of a job was a blessing in disguise. I felt the
Mhm.
same way when I was pushed out of
Mhm.
my firms.
Mhm.
I was like, well,
Mhm.
these people might have helped me save my own life, you
Save
know?
my own life. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So I know, I just think that's really great. So I want to move on to living outside of the US. I know you're from
Uh,
and you're
yes.
living there now. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So this is what I meant by making decisions. So several years ago, my husband and I started to think about leaving the United States. It is a toxic place. It's not good for Black people. Um, he was more for the idea. I was like, well, where am I going to work? That was it was always my question. What's the work I'm going to do, right? Because work was such a central part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started visiting Jamaica, which is where I'm from. And I started reading a book by Randall Robinson called Quitting America: The Departure of a Black Man from His Native Land.
Wow.
He left for St. Kitts. His wife was from St. Kitts. And so after many years of work on what he calls the American Project, he said, oh, this thing it's not redeemable. So he left to go live in St. Kitts. And when I read his story, I started to be like, wait a second, could I? Could I leave the United States? It's not good for me. I know that. That's done. I don't even have to prove that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we slowly started to make that transition, and it was hard because you have to let go not only of certain ideas about what it takes to live a good life, but also like narratives that are deeply embedded about America being this place where money is easy to get, right? That's one of the things that people in other parts of the world think. Oh, America's a place where money's easy to get. You can be financially successful there. You can be Oprah. You can do anything, and these narratives have been sold to us. We've been conditioned to believe them.
Yeah.
And so leaving the US, we had to unpack
Yeah.
so much. It was not easy, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And but it was a beautiful choice. We For example, our first home in the US that we bought together and we said we would never sell, we ended up selling it.
Wow.
So we call that divesting to invest. So we divested from the US to invest here, which is why I know I don't have a mortgage. And so living in Jamaica the other thing about weathering, it's like being around Black people all the time now.
Uh-huh.
What are the microaggressions or the aggressions? What are the aggressions? There are none.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to think about my race. I don't have to think about racism as much. I mean, it happens because there are a couple of white Jamaicans who live on the island. One of them lives right next door to me. I don't even understand how that's possible. But it happens. But in general, I'm relieved of racism related stress in my day-to-day life in a way that I could not even dream of in the United States. And so it's been beautiful. And so we wrote a book about our transition, We Quit America, which can be found on wequitamerica.com. And it's just about our story of leaving, all of the unpacking we had to do,
Yeah.
all of the decisions we made. There's one chapter, I call it the math chapter. We lay out all of our financial business because we felt like this is the part that we don't talk about with each other. We don't talk about our money, even though we're all thinking about money, we're all stressed about money, but we don't share what are you working with? And so we put it all out there to help people consider leaving the United States, especially at this time. We wanted to get that book written and out by the election because we had a sense of what was coming.
Wow. And look, and I feel like, we were talking about this earlier. So there is this notion America is the queen of brainwashing,
Oh,
especially
yes.
descendants of chattel slavery.
Oh, yes.
Because
Oh,
she
yes.
really has us out here thinking that there's no better place for us in
That's
this
right.
world.
That's right. That's
And
right.
Yeah. I identify as a citizen of the world. This world is mine to explore,
That's right.
you
That's
know?
right. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, so in the book, in the We Quit America book, we talk a lot about, we critique in a very specific way the elements of the United States that are in place that kill us, right?
Yeah.
And we felt like we needed to do that because it's part of the demystifying, right? Like,
Mhm.
you got to chop away at this narrative that America is the best thing available. However, what we would love for people to also embrace is that there are places around the globe that are actually like beautiful places to be, right? Like, in terms of all kinds of things: food, culture, way of life, ease of life, healthy living. And so it doesn't have to be a critique of America
Right.
only, but that there is beauty and good people,
Mhm.
and cultures that embrace Blackness,
Yeah.
at least more than the United States,
Mhm.
that we can be a part of. And so that's what I'm hoping for Black people right now, is that we know we have options.
Yeah.
We don't have to stay where we're born. We don't have to stay where we've spent most of our lives. We're not trapped.
Right.
Um, I mean, some people, like my mother was saying yesterday, everybody can't leave, and I get that. I
Yeah.
understand that. However, the ways in which movement of people happen over history across the globe is that somebody might go,
Hmm.
and then somebody else comes, right? So I go somewhere, I build a house, or I have a place, then somebody else joins me, joins my family there, builds their house. And then before you know it, there's a community,
Right.
right? And so someone has to go. And if you have the wherewithal to go, and you want to go, then you have the option to go. And that's what I really want people to know. And then maybe your mom will come with you, like my mom
Yeah.
did. Or
Uh-huh.
maybe I there's a story in the book about a young man. His mother and aunt had already left from Mexico. He was having a hard time in Florida, and
Mhm.
they said, "Come on." And he moved to Mexico and is thriving.
Wow.
So, and we've done this. People have moved from the South to the North in the United States.
Right. Right.
They've moved from Texas during slavery to Mexico. Black people have moved. We know how to move to find safety.
Yeah.
And so this is the exact same thing.
Wow, no, that's so beautiful. And I think I remember, so I went to Italy for my honeymoon last year, and I was just amazed how the food was better quality and cheaper. And
Mhm.
you see 80, 90-year-old Italians
Yep.
walking through.
Yep.
Like I would love longevity. Like,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
and we are worthy of it. Angela Lowe Parker Connection says Portugal 2025, and that's
Uh-huh.
another place that's
That's a
very
place.
diverse, has a
Mhm.
lot of Black people. We go, people speak Portuguese to us, thinking
Mhm.
that we're from there. I
Mhm.
think there is a bigger world out there for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
so I just want to ask, like, are there any parting words that you would like
Mm.
to offer? So I threw your links to your books in the chat.
Oh,
They're
thank
also
you.
in the description. Please consider buying our friend's book. Hit the like button if you haven't. Please do. We would appreciate that. Spread the word about this talk. But thank you so much for having for being here today and
Thank
talking to us.
you.
You're wonderful.
Thank you. No, I mean, I've already said it. We have choices, we have options. Um, there are narratives that we've been sold, been conditioned to believe. And this is a great time to start to unpack those. It's a great time to unpack relationship to money, relationship to work, as part of the liberatory process, as part of getting free.
Yeah.
And I never, ever could have imagined that I would be at a point in my life where I would say, I am not working more than 20 hours a week. That was like inconceivable 3 or 4 years ago. Um, but through some like deep trauma informed therapy work,
Yeah.
I just started to unpack and started to like release some of these notions so that I could get free. And I wish that for all Black women.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you,
an
Latrice.
example.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we'll be in touch. Maybe I'll have you on another time to check on you. Keep
Sure.
writing. So, and I know you're a Virgo like me. We love the power of the pen. I do too. I love writing. So
Thank
keep
you.
writing, and
Thank
thank
you.
you for being an inspiration to us.
And thank you for your work, Latrice, that
Oh,
Black women can count on you for legal support. Thank you.
absolutely. I love the work I do. I tell people I'm working in my sweet spot. I have excellent training. The money I earn is clean, and I get to help people who need my
Yeah.
help. So
Yeah.
that's my little triangle that I love
Hmm.
working in. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
No problem. Hit the like button if you haven't. We'll see you next time.
Bye.